Hello and welcome to Rules and Ramblings. My name is Nomad, his name is Maxen.
Hi.
With the year coming to a close, there's hardly a better time out there for you as a Warhammer or other wargaming player to do the impossible. Get your friends into Warhammer. Now, unfortunately, it's much easier said than done, for a lot of the people we know have annoying contentions such as, I don't have time to start an army, or I don't have the money to afford it, or what's a Warhammer and why are there 40,000 of them? Luckily, the two of us have a lot of experience inducting people into the Imperial cult. Getting them into the hobby.
Yeah.
So we decided today we'll take some time and share the multiple ways we've gotten our friends to make the worst financial decisions of their lives. So we'll be breaking our various methods down based on how much money it costs to, introduce
Yeah.
people. Because as we all know, as wargamers, at least the expensive ones, shit's expensive.
Yeah. So we'll be starting at the low end of the spectrum and then make our way up all the way to the profaned rich option.
Now, as we get to each method, we'll kind of give a what you need list, basically things that you'll need or want to have the most success. Obviously, for all of these, you'll need at least a friend, preferably multiple friends, especially ones that are already in the hobby you're trying to get new people into.
That certainly helps.
Now, unfortunately, I know that's gonna alienate a lot of you, but keep trying. I'm sure you'll figure it out eventually.
That's fucked up.
So, so hey, it's the internet. People are chronically online for a reason.
People have online friends.
All right, you keep telling yourself
We have one.
that. We do have one, and sometimes I regret it. All right, so for our first method, as it were, we'll be starting at the cheapest option, which is nothing. It's free. You don't actually need to spend money on this one. However, unless you're talking to someone who's very susceptible to this will probably have the lowest chance of succeeding. And this is, of course, the lore. Now, I should disclaimer before I continue. This can be used technically can be used on any war game. You'll just need to tweak how you implement them.
Apply them.
Yes, apply. But as big Warhammer players, we are specifically using methods that we use to get people into 40k.
Or Age of Sigmar if you're into that.
Age of Sigmar
Or
is really
fantasy if you're into
Age of
that.
Sigmar slash fantasy is also really easy.
Except for their lore is bad, so I will take no complaints.
Yeah.
It's bad and you know it, if you know. Or if you don't find out. Trust me, it's bad. Unless it's about the lizardmen. Lizardmen are tight as fuck.
Love the Lizardmen. I love Source. I love them. I love their lizard faces.
Yeah, so least likely to get someone directly into the hobby, but at least most likely to start some interest in it is the lore. A lot of people find that they at least attach themselves to one faction that they hear about, often multiple.
Generally speaking, if you try to introduce someone to Warhammer through like explaining the lore to them or recommending them videos, you'll probably run into one of two situations. I guess three. We'll say three. At one end is they're completely put off by it. They can't really wrap their head around or get a grasp on certain things about lore. In 40K's example, the Horus Heresy, the War in Heaven, that kind of big overarching stuff. I know that this doesn't have explaining the lore doesn't have a huge effect on me personally. When a friend of mine tried to get me into BattleTech by explaining the lore, and I said no, thank you.
It was a bunch of gobbledygook.
A lot of gobbledygook.
The only thing I know about BattleTech's lore is that a cell phone company went down and it messed up the entire universe, basically.
I didn't even know that much.
That's about all I know. I don't even think that's in like the current time period, or maybe that was a while ago, or maybe it's in the future. Something.
Who knows? BattleTech lore is dumb. No offense, BattleTech fans.
Your game's kind of cool.
It's all right.
It's no Warhammer 40k, but it's pretty cool.
On the other end of the spectrum, you might find someone who gets really attached to the lore really quickly. Everything you say, they pick up on, and are like, "Yes, I want more of that." Most of the time, though, if you explain like a little bit of the lore, they might like kind of get a little interested, and you can expand out from there, or they might pursue on their own.
Or there's a fourth option, which is they hear about one topic in particular and then hyperfixate on it and learn everything about that topic, but still remain completely ignorant of everything else, such as
Looking at you, Necron
yeah,
player.
looking at you, Necron player, and Adeptus Mechanicus player in the beginning. Oh yeah, and when we say a specific army name with a player, we were referring to specifically one of our friends, one of the people that we inducted into this mess.
Now, I would barely consider the lore a method per se. I think of it more as a supplement or addition. You basically, with any of the following methods, you have a lot higher chance of success. Once you get the initial hook on him, you can kind of reel them in a little bit more with like lore. If there's a certain faction they take to, explain some of it to them. Like if they like orcs, be like, hey, Mr.
They're
Bond,
funny.
funny Daka.
I can use one CP to cast the jump. Wah, Mr. Bond. Wah.
So moving on to our first real method, the one we probably had the most success with is
Video games.
exactly video games. Now, this one's very self-explanatory. Things you'll need besides your friends are games related to whatever war game you're trying to get people in. If you're talking about 40K, you could play the Dawn of War games, Gladius, Dark Tide, maybe. Talking about fantasy or Age of Sigmar, I could do Total Warhammer or Vermintide. Play any of the Mech Warrior games for trying to get friends into BattleTech.
Like MechWarrior Online is free, and it's a good introduction to the system, even though it's a lot smashed in your face at once.
Trying to get your friends into bolt action. You can make them play Hearts of Iron 4 and be really weird about rebuilding the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah.
We had the most success with this because most of our friend group, we played Dawn of War Soulstorm together. And that for at least two of them, our Admech player and our Necron player, that initially got the ball rolling.
The Necron player especially. Even though the Necron player was almost a guard player, and then they decided that the Necrons are cooler, which is fair, but also I like the guard.
Yeah, Dawn of War is especially effective because it's that whole army building aspect of the game, and like making the big army and the big shooty shoots.
And it shows a good range of the units available to every faction. Unless you're Adeptus Mechanicus, then you're just not in the game.
uh,
Unless you get a specific mod, but that mod sucks. Even the AdMech player agrees, so don't at me.
but this one does work especially well because it's a very social thing. A lot of war gamers like also playing video games, so it's a really nice gateway. Play Dawn of War with them if they don't know anything about Warhammer, and they're into RTSs. Get them to play Dawn of War, see what factions they really take a liking to, and then
You could also get them to play Dark Tide, or if they like the idea of space naval combat, there's Battlefleet Gothic Armada.
yeah, that kind of stuff. Just like kind of get them interested in the setting, get them to experience some of the factions. If there's one that you notice they take a liking to, you can kind of talk to them a little bit about their backstory, their lore, and then once you start showing them models, and like yeah, like there's a game you build and paint your models and stuff. There's a good likelihood that they might be interested. So moving on from that, our second method is that we've done for multiple people who these are people that we either are getting into the hobby for the first time or people that we got interested in the hobby through games like Dawn of War, Total Warhammer, and then we're kind of letting them see like here's how the game actually plays. I think at least for most people, especially the gamers, the biggest draw of Warhammer is actually playing the game. So it's a really good idea to let them see that.
It requires you and a friend to at least be established in the hobby beforehand for you to do it, or you to just be really established in the hobby by yourself. It's also a good idea for them to see it before they invest in the models to know if they want to play or not, because it is, well, not for everyone, but it is rather expansive. I think it's a little bit more simplified now, though, right?
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. Especially with the new Combat Patrol game mode. It's really easy to do starter intro games. So for this, what you'll want or need is whoever you're trying to get into it, optionally another friend who's already in the hobby.
Then you don't have to own 2 armies yourself.
And that's especially helpful because you'll want at least enough for like a 500-point army, preferably a combat patrol, because it's, in my opinion, because I've been doing a lot of like combat patrol and newer people lately.
It's an actual game mode nowadays.
It's especially helpful in that regard, but you'll want at least 2.
Yeah.
Not a problem for me. I have 3, but that's besides the points.
We don't talk about you.
Oh.
We especially don't talk about one of your armies. Ugh.
Tank go.
No, Dreadnought go.
That's a nice Imperial Knight you got there. It'd be a damn shame if it died turn 1.
Yes. Glad it wasn't me. Can't say the same for the next player, though.
He thought he was so clever.
If he run, all he had to do was win the first roll off, and then he would have gone first and probably killed at least one of your dreadnoughts, and then his knight might have survived.
Oh, I don't know, because his heavy flamer doesn't do. It's really good at ag clear. It would not have done much to my vehicles.
Oh wait, he brought it with a heavy flamer.
I think that's what it comes with.
I thought it had like a Volkite cannon or something.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't run knights.
The Volkite cannons are real good against tank.
Yeah, I don't run knights.
I don't know. I don't either. It's not even a 40k knight. That's a 30k knight that works at 40k. Until like a year from now or something, when they say no, it doesn't, not anymore. Like they did with some of the dreadnoughts, and that, and I'm not happy about that. I wanted, what's that one dreadnought? The really big, like tanky one.
Which dreadnought?
It's like really wide and like kind of round.
The one with big ass guns.
I think so. It's not the Ballistus. It's older than that.
Yeah, the Horse Heresy one, the Darrow.
Darrow?
Yeah, it's the like one that's got big ass fucking cannons.
Oh no, it's not that one, but it's similar to that one. I can't think. The Leviathan Dread. That's the one I'm thinking.
Oh,
The Leviathan Dread is so cool looking. I wanted one for my Fist army, and I can't use it anymore.
yeah, I know. Fucking legends.
Ugh. Fuck you, John Workshop. Bring them back. There's no reason to not let people use them. People were using them, and now they can't anymore. Why? They're good models.
Man, poor Chaos Space Marine players. They don't have dreadnoughts anymore.
I mean, they have like the obliterator, like the big obliterator, like demon dreadnoughts.
That's not a dreadnought. Doesn't count. The best they have is the Hellbrute, which is stupid.
Yeah, the Hellbrutes are demon dreadnoughts, but they're not very good. I'm much more of a fan of a Forge Fiend.
All right, moving on to our last and most expensive method. We have the hobby Showoff. Basically, the concept of this is instead of inviting people to play Warhammer, you invite them to experience the hobby side.
Collecting and building models and maybe painting.
Right. So this one works. The reason we have this as the most expensive is because you'll want multiple friends, because the more friends you have, the more effective this will be.
The more of you are sitting around a table all building models together, and the better it is.
And you'll also need models that either haven't been built, haven't been painted, or both. So you might, depending on where you are in your army collecting,
you might need to buy new
models. Models. But who are we kidding? You have models you haven't built or painted yet. We know you do.
We know you do.
Don't lie. We are you.
I am you, and you are me.
Call me Ryan Gosling, because you're literally me.
More of a group of hangout and less of a game day. Like you just invite your buddies over to hang out for a day. You spend like 4 to 6 hours or so building models and talking and just hanging out. You get dinner or lunch or whatever, depending on what time you do it. You all just experience the hobby side, because it's a little boring to build models by yourself.
Yeah, and while it might on the surface seem boring, if you've ever done Warhammer, as it were, with your friends, it's actually very entertaining and a lot more fun you would think, and you actually get things done, especially if you're really big on procrastinating and have a lot of models you can't find time or motivation to do. Having a friend there or two really helps you get that done.
Guilty as charged.
This one could be is surprisingly effective because I've actually gotten family into Warhammer through this exact method of kind of them being in the same area as them or them watching.
So they weren't even necessarily participating. They were in the area while we were doing it.
They weren't even participating, they were just watching. And that might be your biggest concern is, "Oh, well, they're just watching me paint or build a model. That's boring." You'd be surprised. Now, obviously, if you're completely ignoring them and not, like, giving them the time of day, yeah, they'll get bored.
You're there to hang out.
Yeah, it's above all else, Warhammer is a social hobby.
I say be social or else.
Yeah, if you have to pick between talking to your friends and getting your model painted, you should probably pick the friends. Because if you don't talk to them and you fall out with them, they can't really play Warhammer with you anymore.
Yeah, now you have no one to play Warhammer with, even though you have a painted army that you were trying to lord over their faces. Now you got no one to lord it over.
Yeah. Now, if you are worried about, oh, but I don't, I still think they'll be bored. They don't have anything to do. If they want, especially if it's an army that they're interested in, if you have a spare model or sprue, you could give it to them and kind of go show them the ropes of building slash painting, and depending on the army, just let them have the models. They have a little thing they can call theirs. We had a little bit. Now, I have not tested this personally. However, our AdMech player is in the process of indoctrinating. I mean, getting his girlfriend into the hobby. And part of the way he did that was by letting her paint a spare, like, Scutari he had.
She also was able to, or he also had her build a spare tech priest he had.
That's what it was. Tech Priest, Scutari, whatever. They all look the same. No offense, AdMech. I love you guys. Trust me.
Only one that doesn't is Call, because he's fucking massive.
No, the Dominus is the most similar to Scutari. Like, the Manipulus and the other ones are very.
Well, yeah, but the Dominus is also the most iconic. Like, big dude with metal hands and an omniscient axe.
I take back what I said. The Scutari, not the Scutari, the Engiseer is the most generic looking.
Yeah, Engineer just looks like a Scutari with robes.
Oh, I really hate that model. I hate the new AdMech Combat Patrol. I'm so glad they're getting rid of the Engiseer.
I feel bad for the new AdMech Combat Patrol. It's just terrible. It's like 280 points. That's nothing. In a game mode where most of the combat patrols are at least supposed to be around 500 points.
All right, so that's technically the last method. However, we do have like a sort of half method that's an attachment, an add-on to the hobby Showoff. And this is what we call the rich option. This is a step above the hobby Showoff because in that method, you might already have the models or the paint and not have to buy anything. This one, you do have to buy something.
Which we have actually employed.
For anecdote time, one of our friends is our guard player. He is currently in college and in typical college student fashion is broke as fuck.
He has no money.
I have no
He
money.
has no money.
But he was like, we invited him to a bunch of, like, besides me, Maxen, and our AdMech player, because we all have full armies or mostly full armies. He was the other person we would invite to because he seemed really into it, but he just couldn't. He couldn't buy anything. So one day, and one of our typical like game days, while he was there, the three of us, me, Max, and the AdMech player, decided to pool together money and buy him a Lehman Russ. And now that he has his Lehman Russ built and is working on getting the paints for it, he's now at the point of no return. He not too long ago he bought a Rogel Dorn and is looking at getting a second.
Yeah. So not only so first we started by buying him a, what was it, a $60 model Lehman Russ?
Yeah, because we went like, I think it was like 65 because me and the AdMech player did 20 and then you did 25.
Yeah. Yeah, so not only did we do that, but after he built it at one of our following hobby days, that he came and showed up with it, we all built stuff together, and he spent the time building that. He went out and bought not another Lehman Russ of the same price, but a more expensive model because he thought it looked cool, and he wanted to have it in his army. This is why the rich option can be very effective. It's just you need the capital to be able to do it, and you need to know what army your fellow initiate is interested in. It also helps to be at a game store for one of your hobby days for that.
Right, the benefit of going to a game store. um, while this is guaranteed to work against someone with someone who is interested and actively looking to make that jump, this can work if you have someone who's a little bit like hesitant, they're kind of on the fence. If you gift them a model or a box, especially a combat patrol, they might feel obligated to start working on it because, oh, my friend bought this for me. Now, some people might call that manipulative. I call it opportunistic.
Yeah, and then they build their box and possibly paint them, and then they show up to the next hobby day you do, and then they want to have a fight with someone. And then you two duke it out, and then now they're hooked because they played the game, and they're like, oh, this game is great. I lost, but it was a close win. It was a close victory.
And the cult grows a little bigger. And as it were, oh shit, hold on. Yeah.
And here I sit, talking into the endless void of the recording software, while my co-host is busy. How are you today, dear listeners? Feeling like spending some money? Invest in a little plastic crack today. Did you hear my speaking into the void?
No.
But yeah, you're gonna hear it when you go back through while you're editing this, and you'll be like, "This motherfucker."
Hello, is it me?
No, it was
You're
me being
looking
like,
for?
"Hello, dear viewers. Want to spend some money on some plastic crack?"
Well, that's a short list of all the methods that we've employed for getting friends into the hobby. And if you want to try any of these, if you've already tried these, by all means, let them know if they worked, if they didn't work, any ideas that you have.
Let
Because,
us know if they worked or if they didn't work.
yeah, if you try any of these, let us know the results. And there's any methods that you typically employ, let us know. We'd love to hear it. We're always trying to. We have a lot of friends that have yet to get into the hobby, and we're always out there trying to get them.
More friends means more war, which means more game.
Which means more hammers. We will acquire the 41,000 hammer. All right. Is there anything you'd like to say, Maxen? I agree. Well, that's enough out of us. Let's get out of here.